Good morning, students. Today our lecture topic is dural venous sinuses. So as we have started with head neck face region, these are the important draining channels within the cranial cavity. So in today's lecture, the objectives are at the end of session, students should know what are the dural venous sinuses, name and different location of these sinuses, and the applied aspect. What are these dural venous sinuses? These are the venous spaces, the walls of which are formed by dura mater. Inner lining is by endothelium. There is no muscle in their wall, and there are no valves. So there is a continuous flow of blood. It receives blood from brain, meninges, bones of the skull, and they communicate with veins outside the skull through the emissary vein. They drain into internal jugular vein finally. They have the different internal connection, and the final drainage is into internal jugular vein, which you will see in the neck. What are the peculiarities of these sinuses or how they differ from normal veins is these sinuses, they are valveless, they are lined by endothelium only, there is no muscular coat in their wall. So there is no muscle coat, and they communicate with extracranial veins through the emissary veins. So total dural sinuses are 23 within the cranial cavity. Some are paired, that they are on either side of cranial cavity, and some are single. So of these 8 sinuses are paired and the 7 sinuses are unpaired. So we will see each sinus in detail with their location and their draining channel. This is an important long question. So when it comes, you have to write in detail about each sinus with the diagram. So what are the unpaired sinuses? These are superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, straight sinus, occipital sinus, anterior intercavernous sinus, posterior intercavernous sinus, and basilar plexus of vein. To remember this, short form is she is shy of a powerful boxer. So you can remember the first letter. S stands for superior sagittal sinus, I for inferior, S for straight, O for occipital, like that. The paired sinuses are cavernous sinus, superior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus, transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, sphenoparietal sinus, petrosquamous sinus, and middle meningeal sinus or vein. Again, to remember a short form, cause she is tough, so she protested murder. So again, first letter, this is just to remember, no need to by heart this. You can just remember the names, and as per their name, the location is also there. Like superior petrosal is on the superior part of petrous temporal bone, like that. So we'll study each sinus in detail. First, we'll see the unpaired sinuses. First is the superior sagittal sinus. Now, this superior sagittal sinus is located within the C-shaped arc of falx cerebri. So it begins from crista galli in the anterior part of the skull, and it extends up to internal occipital protuberance in the posterior part of the skull. The location is like that. So you can see this arching backward is the superior sagittal sinus. So it begins at crista galli, that is part of a cribriform plate of bone. It is formed by the union of tiny meningeal veins, and it communicates with the veins of frontal sinus, with the veins of nose, and through the foramen cecum. It runs upward and backward, so it becomes larger in size. It is triangular in cross section. So if you see here, C-shaped arc, you can see becoming larger posteriorly. It ends at the internal occipital protuberance, and by turning on right side, where it becomes right transverse sinus. So it is getting connected with the transverse sinus. This superior sagittal sinus, it will receive superior cerebral vein. So the tributaries for this sinus or draining channels are emissary veins, superior cerebral vein, arachnoid villi and granulation, which are the from arachnoid matter, they are turning into the sinus. So this is granulation, these are the villi, and also some venous lacunae which will enter into the sinus and drain there. It is quite large in size. Applied aspect, a thrombosis of this sinus is caused by spread of infection from node, scalp and diploid. This gives rise in intracranial tension due to defective absorption of CSF, delirium and convulsion due to congestion of superior cerebral veins, paraplegia of the upper motor neuron due to bilateral involvement of paracentral lobules of cerebrum. Now in this paracentral lobule, lower limb and perineum are presented. That's why the involvement is like that. Next is the straight sinus. So the location, if you see, of the straight sinus, it is in the tentorium cerebelli, running straight. Here you can see, running straight. So it lies in the median plane within the junction of falx cerebri and tentorium cerebelli. So I think you must be aware of the folds of dura mater. So within this, the falx cerebri and tentorium cerebelli, these are the folds of dura mater in which this straight sinus is located. It is formed anteriorly by the union of inferior sagittal sinus with the great cerebral vein. So you can see here. This is the inferior sagittal sinus, great cerebral vein. So both, now this inferior sagittal sinus is in the lower margin of falx cerebri. So the great cerebral vein and these two join and they form a straight sinus. So within the falx cerebri and tentorium cerebelli, it is located. It ends at the internal occipital protuberance and continues as left transverse sinus. So you have seen here the superior sagittal sinus will continue as a right transverse sinus and straight sinus will continue as a left transverse sinus. So both these sinuses, transverse sinuses, they are continuation from the different sinus. So how straight sinus is formed? Joining of inferior sagittal sinus with the great cerebral vein. It receives superior cerebellar veins that are their draining channels. Other unpaired sinuses, first is inferior sagittal sinus. So as we have seen, it is in the lower margin of the falx cerebri. So you can see here, it is in the lower attached margin of falx cerebri. Again, it is curving backward, beginning from anterior area. In this region is your superior sagittal sinus. Now this inferior sagittal sinus will join a great cerebral vein and it will continue here as a straight sinus as we have seen in the previous diagram. Next is the occipital sinus. Now, occipital sinus is obviously as a name, it is in the occipital region. So it lies in the region of the tentorium cerebelli, falx cerebelli. So it lies in the attached margin of the falx cerebelli. It begins at the level of foramen magnum and then it ends at the confluence of sinuses. Confluence is meeting point of all the sinuses. All these sinuses, they meet at one point. So this point is known as confluence of sinuses. So this occipital sinus will begin at the foramen magnum and it will end into the confluence of sinuses. Next is the anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. So as the name suggests, intercavernous. So it is between the two cavernous sinuses. These are the cavernous sinuses on each side of the sphenoid bone. So the anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus, it will connect both the cavernous sinuses and it will surround the infundibulum. So here you can see both the anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses. There are also unpaired sinuses and a connecting channel. Next is the basilar plexus of veins. Now, you know this part is known as the clevis part of the skull. So this basilar plexus will lie on the clevis of the skull and they will drain inferior petrosal sinuses. Here is your petrosal bone, petrous temporal. So they will both receive inferior petrosal sinuses and they will get connected with the internal vertebral venous plexus. So they communicate with the internal vertebral venous plexus. These are some unpaired sinuses. Again, I will repeat. The unpaired one are the superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, straight sinus, the occipital sinus, anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus, and basilar plexus of vein. So if the note will come on unpaired sinuses, you have to just write about each sinus in short, like where it begins, where it ends, what it drains, like that. Next is the paired sinuses. So paired sinuses, these are two in number, situated on either side of the cranial cavity. First and foremost is cavernous sinus, other is transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, superior petrosal, inferior petrosal sinus, sphenoparietal sinus, petrosquamous sinus, middle meningeal sinus or vein. Cavernous sinus, so that is a bigger sinus. You can see the location. This sinus, which is located on either side, this is a sphenoid bone. So either side of the sphenoid bone, this blue color cavity you can see is the cavernous sinus. So it is a large venous space which is situated in the middle cranial fossa on either side of body of sphenoid bone. It is 2 centimeter long and 1 centimeter wide. Sometimes you may get a note on only cavernous sinus. It is a very important sinus. So you have to write in detail about this cavernous sinus. The interior of this is divided into number of spaces or caverns by trabeculae. The floor and medial wall of this sinus is formed by endosteal dura mater, and the lateral wall and roof, they are formed by meningeal layer of dura mater. Anteriorly, the sinus will extend up to medial end of superior orbital fissure, and posteriorly it extends into the apex of the petrous temporal bone. If you see here, anteriorly it is extending into the superior orbital fissure and posteriorly into the petrous temporal bone. So it is a short sinus situated on either side of the sphenoid bone. Now, what are the structures or relations of this sinus? Superior to this sinus lies the optic tract, optic chiasma, olfactory tract, internal carotid artery, and anterior perforated substance. So you can see here optic tract, optic nerve, crossing is optic chiasma, the artery you can make out here. Inferiorly there is a foramen lacerum, junction of the body and greater wing of sphenoid bone. Medially there is a hypophysis cerebri and sphenoidal air sinus. Laterally there is a temporal lobe with uncus. Below laterally mandibular nerve. Anteriorly, there is a superior orbital fissure and apex of the orbit. Posteriorly, there is the apex of the petrous temporal and the crus cerebri of midbrain. So these are the relations of the sinus. Very important structures, they lie around the sinus. So any infection within the sinus will spread to these structures. Then there are again important structure or nerves in the medial and lateral wall of sinus. So diagrammatically, if you see, this is your sinus. Interior is divided into many caverns by trabeculae. So in the medial wall, this is the medial wall. This is a sphenoid wall. So medially you have the hypophysis cerebri, pituitary gland. Anteriorly, superiorly we have this optic tract and chiasma, internal carotid artery. So in the medial wall, this is the medial wall. You have internal carotid artery with the venous and sympathetic plexus around it, and also the abducens nerve. This yellow part is the abducens nerve. So here you can see the internal carotid artery with the venous and sympathetic plexus around it. This is medial wall. Now in the lateral wall, four important nerves: oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve. These both are near the superior orbital fissure. So anterior part of sinus is near the superior orbital fissure. Then you have the ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, and the trigeminal ganglion in this area. So these two are division of trigeminal ganglion only, maxillary division and ophthalmic division. Again, they are entering, the maxillary nerve passes through foramen rotundum and the ophthalmic nerve will enter into the superior orbital fissure. So if you know the foramina and their openings, you will know where these nerves are going and supplying. So that is about the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. Then what are the tributaries and communications of the sinus? So it receives many draining channels, some from orbit, some from brain, and some from meninges. So from orbit, it receives superior ophthalmic vein, central vein of retina, and inferior ophthalmic vein. So these three draining channels, they come from orbit into anterior part of sinus. From brain, it receives inferior cerebral vein and superficial middle cerebral vein. So they come from brain area. And from meninges, we have sphenoparietal sinuses and some emissary veins. So all this will come and they will enter inside the cavernous sinus. So it gets many draining channels from orbit, brain, and meninges. Now the sinus itself drains into many areas. So whenever it feels or whenever the capacity exceeds, it will drain into transverse sinus through superior petrosal sinus. Also in the internal jugular vein through inferior petrosal sinus and through a plexus around internal carotid artery into the pterygoid plexus of veins, then into the facial vein through the superior ophthalmic vein, then into right and left cavernous sinuses. Both these, they will communicate through each other through the anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. So we have seen in previous diagram, both the right and left sinuses, they are connected by intercavernous sinus and through basilar plexus of veins. So they itself drain into various sinuses: transverse, interjugular vein, pterygoid plexus of vein, facial vein, and also communicate with each other. Applied importance. There can be carotid cavernous fistula, as there is an internal carotid artery which travels through the sinus. This is the only location where the artery is traveling through it. So any rupture of this artery will cause arteriovenous fistula, as this is a venous channel, venous draining channel. So an artery, so artery venous fistula. A lesion in the sinus will affect nerves. So we have seen many important nerves: medially abducens, laterally ophthalmic, oculomotor, maxillary, trochlear, all are lying in the lateral wall. So all these nerves, they get affected. So you can see the lateral wall, arteries running through it. So any rupture will cause a fistula here. The important nerves, they are lying here. Then there can be a cavernous sinus syndrome. This results from pituitary adenoma, and this causes ophthalmoplegia, that is compression of oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve and abducens nerve, ophthalmic sensory loss, that is compression of ophthalmic nerve, maxillary sensory loss, compression of maxillary nerve. There can be complete lesion of sinus with total ophthalmoplegia, because third, fourth and sixth nerves which are supplying orbit, they are involved. Then there is the involvement of fifth nerve which causes sensory loss in divisions of nerve. So divisions are maxillary, mandibular and ophthalmic. So trigeminal ganglion that lies in the lateral wall of a sinus. There can be infections of sinuses from external facial injury. Thrombosis of cavernous sinus can occur, which is caused by sepsis in dangerous area of face, in nasal cavities and in paranasal air sinuses. This causes severe pain in the eye and forehead. If there is an involvement of third, fourth and sixth cranial nerve. So all these three nerves, important nerves for orbit, they lie in the lateral wall. So there is a paralysis of these muscles supplied by this nerve. Then there can be marked edema of eyelids, cornea and root of nose with exophthalmos due to congestion of orbital veins. So that was about cavernous sinus. Very important note you get on cavernous sinus. Sometimes you get enumerate the sinuses and write in detail about cavernous sinus. So this is very important sinus situated on either side of the sphenoid bone. Here also you can see all these important nerves, they will travel through the sinus. This is a ganglion and all these important nerve, internal carotid artery. Next is our transverse sinus. So this green color area you can see is a transverse sinus. So we have already seen this is a sinus with the continuation of superior sagittal sinus. So this is a large sinus. Right sinus is larger than left. It is situated in the posterior part of attached margin of tentorium cerebelli. So here you can see in the posterior part of tentorium cerebelli. This is cerebri, lower down is cerebelli. So right sinus you see it is a continuation of superior sagittal sinus, and left sinus is a continuation of straight sinus. It extends from the internal occipital protuberance to the posterior inferior angle of parietal bone. So from external occipital protuberance, it will run transversely, as the name transverse. So it is transversely running. This is your internal occipital protuberance. So from here, it will run transversely till the petrous temporal bone, parietal bone, till the parietal bone, at the base of mastoid process. So here it becomes continuous as a sigmoid sinus. Tributaries it receives superior petrosal sinus, inferior cerebral vein, inferior cerebellar vein, diploic vein, and inferior anastomotic vein. Next is the sigmoid sinus. So this green part you can see is your sigmoid sinus. So if you see here, this is your transverse sinus, both sided. So it will run from internal occipital protuberance till the posterior inferior angle of parietal bone, and it will continue down as a sigmoid sinus. It is S-shaped, so the name is sigmoid sinus. So here you can make out this green color part is the sigmoid sinus. It is a direct continuation of transverse sinus, S-shaped, so name is like that. It extends from posterior inferior angle of parietal bone to the posterior part of jugular foramina. So the structure passing through jugular foramina, one of the important structure is internal jugular vein. So this sigmoid sinus will continue as a internal jugular vein in the neck. So see the extent where the transverse sinus is ending, that is posterior infraangular parietal bone, to the posterior part of jugular foramina, where it becomes internal jugular vein. Tributaries it receives is mastoid and condyloid emissary vein, cerebellar vein, internal auditory vein. You can see here, the transverse sinus is ending and S-shaped sigmoid sinus. Applied aspect of this sinus, the thrombosis of this sinus occurs secondary to infection into the middle ear or otitis media, that is a clinical condition of middle ear, or in the mastoid process infection, that is mastoiditis. There can be otitic hydrocephalus. So when there is an infection into the sinus, spreading of infection from sigmoid and transverse sinus will go to superior sagittal sinus, as superior sagittal will continue as transverse, transverse will continue as sigmoid, sigmoid will continue as internal jugular vein. So all are connected. So this infection may spread up to superior sagittal sinus, which may cause impaired CSF drainage, and this leads to development of hydrocephalus. There is a enlargement of these cavities, and CSF accumulates in large amount, leading to hydrocephalus. Other sinuses which are paired, these are small in size. So these are superior and inferior petrosal sinus. So on a petrous temporal bone, this is a petrous temporal bone. So you can see above and below is your petrosal sinuses. This is inferior petrosal, this is superior. So as I said, these are the basilar plexus of vein on cleaver. So this inferior petrosal will drain into basilar plexus. So superior petrosal, it lies into the anterior part of attached margin of tentorium cerebelli, along the upper border of petrous temporal bone. It drains the cavernous sinus into the transverse sinus. So from cavernous sinus, blood will go into transverse sinus through the superior petrosal sinus. And the inferior petrosal sinus, it lies in the petro-occipital fissure. So this is in the petro-occipital fissure. Here is your petrous and occipital. So petro-occipital fissure. It drains the cavernous sinus into the superior bulb of internal jugular vein. Next is the sphenoparietal sinus. So name is sphenoparietal, between the sphenoid and parietal bone. So it lies along the free margin of lesser wing of sphenoid bone. It drains into the anterior part of cavernous sinus. So all this blood, this green color area is your sphenoparietal sinus. So the blood will come from here into the cavernous sinus. It may receive the frontal trunk of middle meningeal vein. Next is middle meningeal vein or sinus. So important veins, the middle meningeal veins inside the cranial cavity. And see, these are the middle meningeal veins. They also form the impression on the cranial cap due to their flow. So it forms two main trunks. One is frontal or anterior, and the one is posterior or parietal. They both accompany the branches of middle meningeal artery. The frontal trunk end into the pterygoid plexus through foramen ovale. or in the spinoparietal or cavernous sinus. So it has a different draining channels of the frontal trunk. The posterior trunk, it ends into the pterygoid plexus through foramen spinosum. It is more liable to injury in the fractures of skull. So as I said, these give impressions on the cranial cap and they are quite superficial. So whenever there is injury, fractures of skull, they are more likely to injure. So having known this sinuses, one important point is what is confluence of sinuses. So meeting point of all these sinuses, superior sagittal, straight sinus, occipital sinus. All these meeting, this is a transverse sinus. So meeting is known as the confluence of sinuses. So again, we'll see all the sinuses you can make out here. So the unpaired one are superior sagittal sinus in the falx cerebri, upper margin. So from crista galli to internal occipital protuberance. It is running backward. It is a larger sinus. Below that, in the free margin of this falx cerebri again, lower attached margin. So you can see the inferior sagittal sinus, which will join with the great cerebral vein and continue as a straight sinus. This straight sinus will continue with this confluence of sinuses. Superior sagittal sinus will continue as right transverse sinus and straight sinus will continue as a left transverse sinus. Okay. Then the transverse sinus will continue at the angle of parietal bone into S-shaped sigmoid sinus. The sigmoid sinus will turn down through jugular foramina as a internal jugular vein in the neck. Then we have smaller sinuses as superior inferior petrosal sinuses on petrous temporal bone, cavernous sinus, paired sinus, spinoparietal sinus. So we have many important sinuses which are the draining venous channels within the cranial cavity. So as in body, limb, you have seen there are veins which are draining. So in the brain, these are the sinuses which are draining the blood. So in today's lecture, what we have seen? We have seen the dural venous sinuses. What are these? These are the venous spaces within the cranial cavity. No wall, no muscles in their wall. So these are the free flowing channels draining the venous blood. And finally, it is draining into the internal jugular vein. So there are total 23 sinuses, 8 are paired one, 7 are unpaired one. So these are the unpaired one are superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, straight sinus, occipital sinus. Then you have basilar plexus of vein, anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. So remember these names and write about details about these sinuses. Paired sinuses, 2 in number on inside of cranial cavity, of which important is cavernous sinus. So very, very important because many important nerves and also internal carotid artery lies there. So that is very important. Then you have transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, spinoparietal sinus, middle meningeal vein, inferior and superior petrosal sinus. All these are paired sinuses. So 8 paired and 7 unpaired. So remember the names of these sinuses, their extent and drainage. So we have seen about the location, extent, their draining channel, their applied aspect. So very, very important topic, dural venous sinuses. You may get a long question on this. So study in detail about this. Thank you.